people are touching the awareness layer, but they're not touching the actual nervous system layer. Does anxious attachment healing actually work, or are we kind of just stuck with our attachment style or some version of it for the rest of our life? I'm going to tell you about a couple different things today and what I've seen after working with actually personally hundreds of women who experience anxious attachment. So, the first thing that I want to tell you is that no one is born with an anxious attachment style. We are all born with a secure attachment style. And the reason we know this is because our attachment style happens in relation to other people. So you are not really in relation to other people before you're born. Although there is an impact on your mother's nervous system while she's cooking you up on your nervous system. And so that can contribute to our ability to handle stress, our survival response, how sensitive our body is to stress, and a lot of other things, also things that are passed through our DNA. But on a relational level, you're born secure. Now, it may be true that really quickly after being born, you come into an environment that starts to shape your attachment style in an insecure way, which can be anxious or avoidant or disorganized or secure, depends on the environment that you're in. But that's all to say that anxious attachment is actually just a set of tendencies and behaviors that are learned. We learned how to do these things. We didn't realize that we were learning. We didn't choose it consciously, but our little child body that's like a total sponge, it's soaking in all of the information, decided that these would be the best tendencies to try and get the love and attention that you wanted. And if those tendencies needed to be leaning anxious or leaning avoidant, then that's what you would learn. But because it's learned, it can be unlearned. So, why then are you even asking this question? There must have been something in your experience. Maybe you've read a lot of books, watched a lot of YouTube videos, maybe you've talked about it in therapy, maybe you've listened to all the podcasts, and yet you're still experiencing anxious attachment tendencies in your relationships, whether it's friendships, maybe it's only romantic relationships and not in friendships, which would also be a hint that you're very capable of being secure. And that's because what's often happening is people are touching the awareness layer, but they're not touching the actual nervous system layer. So, learning about all of this and learning about how it relates to you, and you might be able to name, well, this old relationship kind of gave me this anxious attachment style, or it's because of this, or it's because of my mom doing this, it's because of this was my experience as a single child, whatever it is. That's just an example, right? This doesn't mean anything statistically. What you're doing is you have a map of all these connections that keep saying anxious attachment. Anxious attachment is my identity, and it's a very awareness level. So now you're in a situation where your mind thinks one thing and understands one thing, but your body has not caught up. So I want to give you this explanation kind of neural pathways. And even taking out the word neural pathway, basically when we are younger, we experience something and we created a response. And maybe the response did not give us the result that we wanted. Maybe we wanted to get picked up, and so we tried crying. And that didn't work because actually our mom was super stressed and she was like, "Oh my God, I cannot deal with you crying toddler. Like, please go watch a movie." So then we're like, okay, but I still want to get picked up. So maybe next time what I'll do is I will just come up to mom and I'll hug her leg. Oh, she picked me up. Oh my gosh, that works way better. But it came from this like calculated sort of place. And it might also be confusing for the child. Maybe they didn't even think that far and they were like, okay, sometimes she picks me up, sometimes she doesn't. I don't really know what I'm doing different because I feel like I'm doing the same thing, which is just wanting to be picked up. And it creates this actual sense of confusion in the body. But in any case, we're creating neural pathways that continue to run on our body without us even thinking about it. Okay. And this is an important skill for humans to have because if you had to relearn how to talk and walk and breathe every day, we would never be able to have a life. So we learn things and our body just does them for us. We learn how to walk and we can just walk without thinking about it, right? And we even have more unconscious things like breathing. Our body just does it for us. So this is the same with behaviors, which means the work that we need to do has to go beyond the awareness level and into the embodied level, which means working with the emotional body and the physical body. And if you've ever heard of the book, The Body Keeps the Score, or if you've ever heard of the term somatic therapy or somatic experiencing, this is what they're talking about. It's about going in and feeling for the body's response and working on that level versus the mind. Because the mind is going to say, I shouldn't text him back. But the body's like, but I really want to text him back, but I really want to talk to him. Or the mind's going to say, I shouldn't feel so triggered about this, but the body feels very triggered. So when people get stuck in the I'm not healing this isn't working, it's usually because you're just on the awareness level. Now, the body-based level, as you said, doesn't happen. As we said, it doesn't happen in the mind, it happens in the body. And so in my program, which is going to be linked in the show description, I have many somatic exercises that are specific to this, specific to changing triggers through the body, specific to changing anxious tendencies through the body, specific to understanding our boundaries and our needs through the body, specific to being more in our feminine energy through the body or the masculine energy, depending on what you need. Also self-trust through the body, confidence through the body, because trying to change our mind doesn't work when the body doesn't believe it, okay? Because the body keeps a score. Sometimes when we do somatic work, we also have emotional release because there are things in our body that didn't get to express. Based on what was happening, it was safer to just shut it down than to express it. So that's a huge part of the work. And I would honestly argue to say, again, after watching hundreds of healing experiences, that if you have not had some sort of anger release around relationships and love, sadness release, if you have not felt within yourself pockets of like your inner child and maybe different protectors, you probably have not done this level of work. It cannot just come through journaling. So honestly, come into my program and we'll do somatic work. It will be amazing. If you want to know more about it, there's a couple more videos on this channel, including one somatic practice, which is about the second video. Third thing that I want to just like share with you to explain how the healing journey happens is a bit of a metaphor. And the metaphor goes like this. I really love sharing this one. A man is trying to get across town and he walks through a tunnel, like a covered tunnel, and he just falls right into a hole that he didn't see was there. Whoa, okay. Gets out of the hole, goes. Next day, he needs to get across town. He goes through the same tunnel and he tries to inch his way along the side, but he falls in the hole. Okay, gets out of the hole, goes. Third day, the man needs to get across town. So he goes in the same tunnel. He knows the hole's there, but he's like, I can get around this. So he inches, slowly, painfully contorting himself to get around the hole, and he gets around the hole. Okay. On the fourth day, the man needs to get across town. He goes a different way. And this is often how healing anxious attachment tendencies progresses. We start with the awareness. Actually, we start with lack of awareness, where we're just falling in the hole. Then at some point, you came to this idea, this whole concept of attachment styles and maybe body work and somatic work and all these things. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's a literal hole that I've just been falling in without even like realizing that I was doing that. Okay, how can I get around this hole? Oh, I'm still falling in. I'm still falling in, even though I can see the hole. Then you get enough awareness to kind of get around the hole, but it was painful. And this could be, for example, being in a relationship where you're like, okay, I know this guy's avoidant, but because I know all this stuff about myself and avoidant tendencies, I feel like I can navigate this one. And then at the end, you're still like, wow, I'm exhausted and a little bit heartbroken. It was really hard to get around that hole. Or we could see it as I'm still in really like triggering situations, but I can handle it and I can kind of grit my way through it because I have a lot of awareness. Then there's the embodiment, which is like, why would I go towards the hole? That hole is not even interesting to me anymore. So the hole can be dynamics that don't serve you, behaviors that don't serve you, all of these things. You're just like, oh, I don't even look over there. I just would obviously go this way. And that's because your body has created a new way of being. So to circle back to our question, is healing anxious attachment possible? My honest answer is 100% yes. And we know this because anxious attachment tendencies are a learned behavior, which you can unlearn. The reason why people doubt if it's possible is because they're only accessing it and learning about it on a mental level, and they're ignoring the body and the nervous system, which is my main focus with my clients. And the third thing is that it does take practice and it shifts slowly. And you might experience attracting better and better relationships. You're kind of refining it the more connected to your body and your self-trust and all of these things that you're getting. But if you don't get more connected to yourself, if you just have a bunch of awareness about how you are, or you're trying to kind of like white knuckle your way through being different or pretend to be detached, it's just not going to be sustainable and it's not going to work. So your key to healing anxious attachment, in my opinion, is The somatic work, the nervous system work, the body based work, the changing things on a subconscious level. I love it. I love it so much. You can find a lot of practices for this, including live calls. I'm doing live calls multiple times a month, live workshops multiple times a month within my space community program. The link for you is in the description if you're ready to actually get into the crux of this. Let's go. Let's do it together. I'll be there for you. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more. There's new videos almost every week, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.